Good afternoon. This is Sherry with Luxury in Black. How are you today? Lonnie,
Good afternoon. How are you? Good afternoon.
we are excited. We have a fantastic show today. Great topics. I am really excited to really chat about. I don't know if many of you have seen the show Supreme Model on Netflix. It's also on YouTube. It is a must see. And we are going to be talking about some of the key talking points on that show, which really profiles the existence and the, as we're calling, breaking the glass ceiling, what has really been going on in the industry and how we can go about breaking it. Looking to see. Lonnie is going to be joining us as well, and we have our guest model today is Annie Gross, who is absolutely phenomenal. Can't wait to share with you and you hear her story as well and her push in the industry and the perseverance and tenacity that it takes to really maintain and be in this industry is truly something. If you, Marcellus Reynolds, who is the creator of Supreme Models, he actually put together, it's the first you would call coffee book that really depicts the livelihood and the span of the Black models in the industry and sharing their stories on what it's taken to really break into it. And it is just riveting to see what it actually takes. Personally, myself, having been a professional model for over 15, almost 20 years from Tulsa, Oklahoma, you'll hear me talk as we talk further about Ebony Fashion Fair. But for me, as a young girl, that was my first introduction into even thinking that was something that I could do, or even seeing models who looked like me dominating the runway wearing exquisite gowns and couture gowns. It was unlike anything I'd ever seen. And I remember my mom taking me to see the Ebony Fashion Fair at the YWCA off of Pine, and that's where the show would come. And back in the that period in the early 60s, the shows would either be in the YMCA's or in local churches, and if there were any event centers, but they weren't the platforms that we see today. But however, Eunice Johnson, who was her husband, who were the creators of Ebony Magazine, created Ebony Fashion Fair to give a platform for Black models to be able to showcase their talent and wear exquisite designer gowns, and she really broke the mold, which began to travel throughout the city, from city to city, and it was a phenomenon for many years. We've had several locals from Tulsa, Micah Reed, Robin Busby, who modeled in Ebony Fashion Fair, and it was an absolute, it was like America's Top Model. If you could get on that stage and on that platform was something, it was a major feat. And it was one that many top Black models got their start as a result of Ebony Fashion Fair. As you well know, if you were followers of the magazine, you would see the models depicted in the fashion shows in the layout and the magazine spread. And so it was actually truly something that I know I just never got over, and really inspired me to really pursue that as a career. As I was saying, that really kicked my career off, and I knew that was something that I definitely wanted to do and really pursued it here in Tulsa, which you can only imagine at that time, and in the late 60s going into the early 70s, you just didn't we didn't have those platforms unless we were doing local fashion shows. And I had a phenomenal woman here, Jane Reed, who was an incredible black model, who really broke the mold and opened up the doors in Tulsa, Oklahoma. She was the first black model to be signed to a major agency, which Linda Lehman, which is still a very strong modeling agency here in Oklahoma to date. And she was doing all of the major fashion shows at Utica Square and around the city for Bill Blass and just all the major designers, and it was an absolute first. And she took me under her wing and really groomed me and introduced me, and I became a model with Linda Lehman as well, and began to really kick off my career before leaving and going to New York, and then where I modeled and went to school at FIT and did a lot of modeling there, and then actually also went to LA, and signed with the Blanchard Agency in Los Angeles and continued my modeling career in Los Angeles before coming back to Oklahoma. And it was absolutely a feat.
So yes, it was the Supreme show is great. I think that he laid out a great platform or a great outline of what the model timeline was. It's funny because I had just posted about Danielle Luna on my Instagram because it was Fashion Week and it happened to be also it's Black History Month. So I
Right.
had posted my little tribute to her anyway before I even saw the show. So that was interesting that he led off that because she was the first Black supermodel and giving her history was great. I have had a chance to meet Iman and also Chanel Iman. So
Wow.
yeah,
Oh,
Iman shopped at my store. I was a manager at Rebecca Minkoff in Soho, and she came in to specifically get these pair of purple velvet boots that we had just came out with, and we had a size 10. And she walked in, sunglasses on, no makeup, just glamazon, but still just a regular black lady shopping. And my coworkers, I was sitting at the desk. I didn't see her come in per se, but I knew someone was in the store. And my coworker brought her credit card to me and it had her name on there. It was like, she's coming to get these boots. And I was like, I looked down at her name and I was like, this is Iman. And I got up out the chair, I peeked around the corner, and I was like, do you know who this is? I finished the transaction and gave her the best service that she had. She was really sweet. She was in a hurry, but it was just, I knew she lived in Soho. I've seen her walk around a few times. So that was a fun interaction to have with Iman, the Iman.
oh, absolutely. And everything that I've ever read about her,
Mhm.
and certainly interviews that I've seen with her, she just looks like she is just such a down to earth person and seemingly always willing to just be very open. And you would think she would be real reserved
Mhm.
or stand up, but she didn't appear to be that way at
Mhm.
all.
Yeah.
And to just hear her story and the plight and the push, that even still is a thing today, which is I just crazy to me. We are having with the level of success that we see in Amon or Beverly Johnson, Naomi Campbell, that
Mhm.
you would think that a lot of those barriers would not still be something we're still having to really fight to
Mhm.
push through today.
Yep.
And when you were in New York, Lonnie, did you feel that resistance?
Oh yes. My okay. So when I was RW's personal assistant, we lived in Rutherford, New Jersey, and also East Rutherford, about 15 minutes outside of Times Square. And when I would drop RW off to practice or to a game if he's going away, and I would go to Manhattan and do things with my friends that were like supermodels. I would ride with and go to castings with at the time Nick from he had just was on America's Next Top Model, and it watching that show you think that those girls had an advantage at those agencies and it was a disadvantage. Every photo shoot and everything that they did on that TV show, they could not use any of that when they started, if they weren't already with an agency. They had to start their whole book completely brand new. And I would go to castings and it would be cattle calls. Every black girl you would know that they were looking for a black girl, because every black girl model that you knew in the industry, or that I met at parties, or that I seen on campaigns or small campaigns here and there, seen on these boards, they were there at the casting. And it's just really interesting. It's a whole nother world. It's
And
a
that's
whole nother world.
that is
There's
so
definitely a
wow
lot
to
of
me.
no's for those yeses, and that's a common thing.
And I and when you talk about the yeses, and I was hearing one of the statements that still really baffled me, that there is still a lot of colorism
Hmm.
in the industry, and how
Hmm.
many, particularly darker skin models, how they are still faced with being you're too dark.
Yep. There's those
Yeah,
talking about that gatekeeping, and that it's disgusting, because it's the girls have to actually also go overseas to Italy. A lot of times they would have to go to Italy to make the agencies in New York accept them. And I've seen that story with a few of my friends, and hearing that Luna, she had to go to, was in Rome when they did the Battle of Versailles, being over in
right.
Paris. It is that Europeans almost have to accept the black women before Americans do. And those agencies are telling the girls no, they're still telling them no. They have to go overseas and work and come back and show you, okay. And then they're like, oh, okay. I see that story happen too many times.
That is amazing. It looks like our guest model, Annie, is joining us. Hello, Annie.
Welcome. Welcome, Annie.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey,
Thanks for having me.
we are excited to have you.
Yes,
Well,
this is amazing.
we have been going back, and Lonnie and I are discussing Supreme Models, which is just a phenomenal documentary. I'm so excited to that this is out, and that we're
Hmm.
really able to hear the stories and really see the plight that it takes in the fashion industry, and
Hmm.
the perseverance, and particularly for Black models really breaking the ceiling and getting the same kind of opportunities. We certainly are excited to hear your story, because you know how I feel about you. You
Yes, for sure. I That is amazing. That was an amazing documentary. I'm just aware of that. And as I finished watching it, I got a little overwhelmed because I can I know what's going on in the industry, and I can feel what those other models are feeling, and now I want to like salute Iman and Beth Ann, like, for pushing the way for the African American models or the Black models. And so yeah, living that in the industry as I am a model right now, I'm more aware. And so it was awesome. I'm very more aware of that. I don't feel it gave me a new sense of myself
Hmm.
watching that. I literally just cut my hair because of it. I just took the clippers to my hair and I was like, I'm changing today.
So I was also like watching it. I was like, okay, we need. It's just how my brain works. I'm like, Annie needs new headshots. Annie needs like a new makeover type of book and something. And that's what was going through my brain while I was watching the documentary.
Right.
I've been talking with you and chatting with you, and I believe in you. And it was a part of. They were talking about you need an allyship, and you need a team. There, either it's a photographer that believes in you, a stylist, or a
Yes.
makeup artist. That hit me, because it is. There's people that walk down the street, and it's someone that's going to tell them before they actually, okay, maybe it clicks in their brain, okay, and gives them that enlightenment, that self awareness that, yeah, you can do this.
Yes,
Yeah,
indeed. And I run into, as a model, I have been modeling now. I always, for some reason, keep it at 13 years, but I swear I have been modeling for 20 plus years.
that's beautiful.
Yes, it's a beautiful thing, and
That can be
you know, it's
possible,
so,
Annie. 20.
yes. You said how many
You
years?
say, did you say you've been modeling 20 years?
Yes, I've been modeling for 20 plus
I
years.
can't
I started
believe
off
that.
I know. I am like, oh my goodness. Oh man, it's a beautiful thing, and at the same time, in the industry,
Mm,
when look doesn't really change as much, but age
mhm.
does, it catches up with you.
But it's interesting too, because how the industry has changed with the age of models and
Yes,
embracing models aging and looking finer. Because what do we have? We're looking at Naomi Campbell age backwards and better,
yes,
and
Absolutely.
yes.
booking more. And so that gives, I know that gives you hope. Okay, yeah.
Oh, it most definitely does. Just seeing the ladies on the Supreme Models on Netflix, it just gave me so much hope. And like I said, I've been doing this career modeling for about 20 plus years now. And now I see from the Netflix series that during the time that I got into modeling, which was about 2003, it was there the black models weren't really a face. And so
Mhm.
as I was fighting at a young age to be the model that I seen in magazines that I wanted to be, they were also trying to pave the way for me breaking into the industry, and I didn't even know that. I just thought it was hard to be where I needed to be in the modeling industry, but it wasn't just me, it was everybody.
Yeah, and it was that what they call it the whiteout, and I didn't realize that that's what was going on. We witnessed it, and I remember going to shows when I first moved to New York in 2006, and I would go to shows. I did see that same white girl. I could not tell them apart, especially if they all had uniformed
Right.
hair. And I was like, "Where is the?" I would dawned on me, and then they were talking about how then again that's when Chanel Iman came. And I was like, "Oh, that's when Chanel." And I was there seeing. I saw Chanel and Joan Smalls,
Hmm.
Juma, in those shows back then. And they were those token black girls, and they were trying to break back into the industry. And it's just interesting.
Yeah, it's very interesting, and I'm just in awe. I can watch that over and over. It's giving me so much power in a
Right.
way. I can watch it over and over again. And so, yes, when I came into the industry, that's when Tyra had started
Hmm.
Next Top Model. I made the cut the first time, and then I made the cut the second time. And then once I got to LA, I was too professional for the industry.
You said too
That's
So
that
professional.
feedback
you
you
have
got.
I, yes,
Wow.
I got cut in LA at number 34. I, once I made it there to the finals, then we got cut. And the reason being was because I didn't have a story at that time. I was just a fresh model, and I had went to
Mm.
an agency called Hoffman International in Kansas City where I started out my modeling career. And after that, I started just submitting myself to things. And America's Next Top Model was my first real thing that I submitted to for myself. I made it far, and this was the second time. This was the second round. I went to Tennessee. I did everything I needed to do, made it then, went to LA, and then I got cut. I got cut because I was too professional already. I did not know that you needed to be,
You had to have a story.
I didn't have a
And
story.
you had to have some type of drama. Like it's a television show. And that's
Yes.
what I was just speaking about because I'm friends with Kenya from talking about season 4. I'm friends with or was friends with Eva, and I'm even closer to Nick. And Nick was who I would go on castings with, and I actually helped Nick get signed to Ford after the show. And while she was just trying to be represented in New York. She was too light skinned. It was
Wow.
like there was these
Is
things
that
I was telling
possible
her.
to be too light skinned?
Yeah,
Wow.
like
My Yeah,
mhm.
my hair was the too thick. I had it to where I went to designers, I went to agencies, and even at 15, 16, it was body sizing. They literally put the measure around
Yeah,
you, and they measure around your leg
Yeah.
yeah.
actually, and they said that you're too big. You got to lose some in your hips. And that was the mindset that was then. So transitioning to now where it's more full body range, the curved
Yeah.
vision, I don't know what to be anymore because the physique is slim
Yeah.
because couture, but yet
Uh-huh.
you still can be full figured. Yeah.
It's very now, Annie, would you say as of today, because that was so interesting to me to hear, I knew about the blackout, and when I was that was back in the 80s and 90s,
Uh-huh.
and so it was a little different period in terms and some of you all may have seen, like, the Pat Clevelands and when Joni coming into that area, it was toward the boom of black models being a thing before it hit that wave again where they decided that's just too much flavor on the
Uh-huh.
runway. And then you go for a 10-year period of
Yeah.
removal. But do you see that being a thing now? And one of the statements, one of the models, several of the models made, particularly some of the as we're getting in the 20 after I'll say after COVID going in, particularly with the break with internet, are you seeing where you're getting more work or you have a better opportunity to really push your platform as a model because you do have the access to really promote yourself through the internet? Because I was listening where several have broken in going around not having an agent, but able to really start securing work, being seen.
It's both. I do feel like it's just so crazy that the industry was like that then and not knowing it. And because to look at now, it's still glimpse of that. And so as far as pushing yourself after you've done it for so long, it seems easier, but at the end, the beginning of the day, depending on where you want to go, you have to pave your own way. And you have to pave your own way to get to the castings, to get to the agencies so they can see you, or it is a hashtag on social media to blow you up. And it has to be repetitive because the thing about social media versus going to an agency is there's more people doing the social media route that you have to come go back and forth with on competition than in the agency when they meet you
Yeah,
firsthand.
I agree.
When the agency meets you firsthand, they can meet your personality. They can see you past the Instagram look or the Twitter look because they're all they can really go off of on social media is your look. And so that's how it is right now. It's really easy to break. I have done a lot to where I push myself in places because of the hashtag or because of the tags or the competitions, that at the end and beginning of the day, to really pursue this thing the way that it's supposed to go and the way you really want it to go to reach top tier as those great models, is you have to be in an agency, or you have to have a manager that is really going, or somebody, a photographer, as like Lonnie said, a photographer
Right.
or a hairstylist. You have to know somebody who has the next place that you want to go, or is you just be stagnant.
Yeah.
How hard has it been for you, or would you say it's been hard being in the Midwest and pursuing your career and not moving to one of the larger areas, New York or LA, or even going to Paris or London?
I would say it's very difficult, even with the agencies that I do have. Reason being is different areas push more of entertainment or acting more than your runway model or your model that is shooting ads, commercial print. So it's been a little bit difficult in the Midwest area, but at the same time, you have Chicago. It's in the Midwest area. Dallas is not quite Midwest, but it's still close enough to where those are your two branches that you can go to connect to the higher designs, the higher commercial prints, the higher shoots. So yeah, it is difficult, but there is still a possibly a way to do it. You just have to be willing.
Yeah.
This industry, you have to be willing to sacrifice. You have to be willing to, you have to want it. And if you don't want it and you just sit on it, then somebody else is taking that place. And they can be from the Midwest, like Ashley Graham. being from Nebraska. She broke the industry, though she is Caucasian, she broke the industry with being from a small place just because she had a message. So,
Yeah.
yes.
And
Well, and
you
that,
know, a lot of
oh,
the
go ahead, Mom.
campaigns and jobs are clients are in the Midwest. Chicago is really huge with catalog work.
Right.
A lot of a lot of models that are on the boards in New York, they travel to Chicago to shoot, and they do a lot of work. I know a lot of the models in New York get a lot of work in Chicago. And I've been talking about being modeling or getting Chicago, getting on the board there because that's a great money making industry and it's visible. It's not too far. It'll be a great spot or starting spot for anyone in the Midwest, I believe.
Very much. So my thing has been also that I had watched on the Supreme Models is my look is editorial. Now I don't know if that's the black
Hmm.
look or if it's just my look. However, this here is not editorial
Hmm.
enough. Everybody just so it's either cross the ocean
Right.
or strictly New York because most of the black models they were in those places, and so if I compare myself to them, then I have to be in that editorial scene. Lots of places here it just is like I take that as a compliment. Your look is too editorial for what we have right now. We have lookalikes on our board for you, but you dominate an editorial look, and so therefore you have to go higher. I always look at it as a compliment
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
to move up and never a rejection.
Yeah.
It definitely takes perseverance and tenacity to maintain in the agency. I want to ask you, Annie, one of the comments that one of the couple of the models mentioned in the documentary made the statement how the inter competition between black models because this the number of jobs, the space, everybody's fighting for the same job. So you would not sometimes you would feel more alone and not cohesive that you had a collective. Do you feel that? Do you see that as a thing still today? Do you still
Oh
feel
no.
like it's gonna be that one, hopefully maybe two?
It is. Sadly, so it is. You can tell it. You can I have been many places and I have many friends that are higher, a little higher than me as far as in the industry, but they have yet to be pieced around and moved. So yes, it is it's like you go into a game as a black model. You it's like you go into a game because you have your signed models and then you have the unsigned, and it's who has the look or who has what they want to get this opportunity. So it is like that very much, and you have to have a strong mindset to be like that. And yes, the industry very much so is still like that. It's still competitive against amongst the black models, even designers. They will love you, but when you hit back to that hotel room or when you get back to home, you were competing with another black model. It's like the Caucasian models, they hands down don't, it's more of the black models that are competing. It's not the other models for sure. So yes, sadly the industry is still like that. The industry is you have to create another avenue as far as like makeup. Like I started my salon because you still don't get the correct makeup. You still get the no hairstylist. Many of times I've done my own hair, even for high designers. The designer liked my look and said, "You go and change everybody's look?" And I what get paid for that, but I was the one to go in because you know what I want and I
Yeah.
want it to be executed along amongst all these models. So
Yeah.
can you go and change? So therefore that is still a thing as well, and that wasn't even for black models. That was go change the every color model
Yeah.
to look like you look cuz
Yeah.
I that's not what I want. Even though the hairstylists did that.
Mhm.
That's
Yes.
really wild to me that how little. some things have it has just been really there is movement. I will say that toward the end, to see the number of black models working the runway in those spaces was refreshing to see. We are seeing more increase in black designers and particularly getting on the main stage. I want to ask you, with getting more recognition, because we definitely had black designers, Stephen Barrows. They've been in the trenches, but do with the increase of black designers getting more recognition, are you seeing? And Delina, you jump in on this as well. Are you seeing that as being giving more opportunity for black models to get more work?
I do. Yes. I do see that for black models getting more work. There's still some broken promises, if you want to say.
Mhm.
There's still some broken promises within that black to black. You get signed on, you get committed.
Hmm.
They would want you, we're putting you on our board. And this is for a designer, but we never contact you. So, yeah, that's what I'll pass that to Lonnie.
Hmm. Yeah, that happens, and I think that the tenacity. That's when you have to be. You have to create your own. Try to book yourself as much as you can. Try to shoot as much as you can. Is what I always say too. You have to diversify your book and your look. Be able to change it up. Yeah, I think that's about it with that. Just be ready to change due to whatever the industry changes to.
And now the lookbook, now your lookbook, is that still a real
Mm.
thing? And I asked that particularly with internet, and I know you're saying things have you have to certainly keep updated. But do you, in
Yes,
maintaining your look or and the direction that the industry is going in, are you still submitting your comp cards? Or has that kind of direction completely changed, particularly with the emergence of the internet and everything happening so fast?
you never want to forget what you were taught, right? And so what I was taught was to have my book in hand. I know there is tablets and there is iPads, but the updating every 6 months update is still a thing. Now, that is if you are a, a model. If you just know the industry, you want to do that. Reason being, they know that the look changes all the time, especially as a black model. You shoot, you're natural, but yet you can change so many different
Hmm.
times. And so, yes, they still want that
Versatility.
portfolio. They still want to see that. It's not as much because of social media. They can go through your looks or whatever, but you want to update that book. You want to get multiple shots. You want sports. You want business. Reason being, if they don't see you in that look that they're looking for, then it's hard to sometimes look past just, can I put them in a business suit, or can I put her in a swimsuit, or can I put her in an ad with ice cream?
What are you gonna
So
sell?
you want that
What products are you
yeah,
gonna sell? Like, you
right.
do these high end shoots because you want a client that's high end, or you do these beauty shoots because, oh, I want a Revlon campaign one day. You also be strategic about what you want, and have it. You can do it. Emulate those images in your book.
Yeah, I very much so agree as Lonnie. This Supreme modeling on Netflix, I tell you, when I tell you, I don't know if I've ever sit down on anything, but it has me on go mode. Like it has
Exactly.
me, I'm ready to eat it up. Like salute everybody and just go for it, because you have to do that. If you don't do it, then nothing happens. And you see those great models, they started makeup lines, they started their own management. They never stopped. They kept going despite they wasn't working at the moment. And yeah, I sometimes as models, we sit on our own opportunities
Hmm.
when it can be simple. You have to do those looks. No matter, sometimes now you have cameras and you have iPhone, you have things that you can use that you can own, and somebody's going to see it. But you want to exercise those Vogue. You want to do the bazaar. You want to do fun and friendly. You want to do all those different categories. That way you can see which one works best for you and that can make you the most money, and that somebody might see you and that's where your start is.
Yep.
Now, can you get pigeonholed, Annie? Because I know you said when it struck me when you said that you've been termed as your editorial, which you definitely are that. But I also know you are a beast on that runway, and in terms of couture. And so, if you feel like you want to lean more to couture, I want to be more of a runway model. I really don't want maybe your lane, you don't feel your lane is print. How flexible do you have to be, or do you have to choose the lane, or do they choose it for you?
As for me, because of height, I automatically go that direction. They choose the other lanes for me depending on agency. If an agency can only put me in those categories of print and commercial, then that's the way that it goes. As of right now, if I do runway, it is because I choose runway and I figure out the runway work. And so it is a little bit tougher because I would love to do just runway. However, runway is not fully the place that you make full income as a full-time model.
Right.
So you do put yourself in those commercials and those ads and different things like that, especially as a seasoned model. You are more likely to do those areas of commercial and acting and stuff like that.
Now, how and Lonnie, and when you working as a stylist, you design, do you, and I guess I'm in my head when I was watching LaRoche, it made me think of you. And in terms of
Mm.
just, do you get connected with one person, or that kind of becomes your muse, or do you?
Gosh, it depends. I would, 'cause for as a stylist, when you're first starting out, it's almost like you're a model. You have to have a book. People want to see your work. And I would partner with models who needed a book. I would partner with photographers who needed tears and needed shots to show. So that's where that group comes from. And so if you build a team and then you build a book, you can very well have a muse, and that muse then takes off and maybe brings that team along with you, with them. It depends.
Now, would you say, Lonnie, with what you just said, and watching that, would it be? Is it maybe a little bit more advantageous now that because of social media and different platforms that you have, that as a stylist, as a designer, and as a model, if you build your own team that kind of cultivates the image and the look or message that you're wanting to put out there, to put yourself out there, that it's a little bit better opportunities now because of those platforms than it was before. Break, in
Um,
particular when you're trying to break in.
I think it's probably a little bit more challenging. You have more competition. I think now people are more visible now. When I started out in the industry, it wasn't social media. We barely had we have cell phones. Yeah, we had cell phones. Like it, the industry has changed and it's grown. When I first started out working like in the movie industry in Atlanta, it was very little films that were taking place there, but now it's grown. That's the new mecca for film, and I think social media has also taken place in that. So I think there's advantages and disadvantages. I guess we're still navigating to see how this is affecting the industry.
Oh, for
It's interesting.
sure. Now, Annie, what would for young aspiring models out there who are looking to break into the industry, and if they sit down and take a look at this piece and feel really inspired, what are some of the key components that you would give a fresh new pursuing model that, I'm trying to navigate in this space? What are the go-to things that you would tell them this is a must, what you would have to do?
Want it. You have to want it, and you have to want it fully. Everything else, school, as far as like college careers and stuff like that, because the industry right now really seeks after 16 and up. So you have to want it. You have to want it fully, because if you don't want it, there's somebody, there always is someone else. And I also think that models should just go for it. Like, there's so many different categories in the industry. It doesn't matter. Size is broken now. It doesn't matter size. It doesn't matter
Right.
look. It is
Mm.
like they have to just go for it, because you have to want it. Don't hold back. Like the models in the video, they did things to where they were eating on $4 or $5, $5, $6, but they also broke the industry by doing that, and they end up getting signed.
Yeah.
And in terms of when you say and I understand one tenacity, you've got to really want it. But what are some of is it still where do for working with photographers, and if you were guiding, what kind of capturing your look depiction of some go-to photos that you must have in your book to even get how do you scout and make sure that you're getting with a reputable and a really good agency or agent? How can you decipher and not, because there's so many shysters out there too,
Yeah,
unfortunately,
very,
that
very much so. Is you want to just really do your research. Sometimes you want to ask if you see other models or people that have shot with the photographer. You have to, the start has to be somewhere, and it starts with a book. It really starts with not even that. It starts with digitals, which your digitals are very just you. Your digitals aren't a lot. And most agencies right now, they want to see you. They don't want to see a whole bunch of makeup. They
No,
don't want to
you want to see
see
filters.
they, yeah, they don't want to see filters.
right.
They just want to see you. So
Lashes.
starting with the all black. I suggest that models, if you don't know,
Take that wig off.
yeah, YouTube it. If you don't know, YouTube it, because if you go into the industry and you think you've been following somebody on Instagram for so long and you're just going to jump in like that, you're
Mhm.
going to be denied. You have to go in with it just looking yourself. You have to go with it being yourself, and you want to start off with digitals. From digitals, then you start to create a book. I really suggest that my models still look at magazines. We need to get back to the industry of where you do tear
Right.
outs. When I got into the modeling
Exactly.
industry, it was about, yes, it was about tear outs. How do you want to look? And then we will go from there. If it's too old for you or if it's too young for you, will fit your category. But I suggest to go back to tear outs, mimic the tear out, and then start a book with that. But find a great photographer and do your research on photographers. Luckily, I never really had that issue with bad photographers. However, I did walk into some Craigslist, we'll pay you to shoot. And then I was like, what was I doing here? It wasn't really, I'm like, you can't be that desperate where you just shoot with anybody. Then you're wasting your time.
Oh, I agree. And can you speak on on the investment, because that was something back in the day. So many people are disillusioned. They think everybody thinks they're gonna have that moment. You saw several of the models in the video that it does happen where you're walking down the street and
Yeah.
somebody sees you and go, "Oh my God, have you ever thought about modeling?" That is so far in between that actually happens. But
Yeah, that is sharing is not quite. You have to be in the place, okay? Because I've seen lots of models walking down, and I will be like, "Yep, that's a model." There's not much. I have. There's things that I can do for them, but there's not things I could do for them as if I was a scout for IMG, right? And so you just have to be in the right place or the right time, depending on where you're at. But you have to pay the price. You have to pay the price.
That's
There
good.
is a price.
Yeah.
If you're not scouted on the street, even when you're scouted there is a price. There is a price, and the price is most of the time is your photos. You have to sell
And you
yourself.
got to show up. You got to keep
Yeah,
that.
you have to
And
show up.
why does I
You
also
got to
say
show up.
I'm that person that's with you going to castings, giving you hope that you're gonna get the job, but we're not gonna be bad if they say no. You got to keep on going. Who's next then? They
Right.
said no. Okay, who's next?
I
So,
am so big on the no. I haven't been told that no that many times, but I have built myself around no. Because if you build yourself in the modeling industry
hmm
around rejection,
hmm
then it builds your confidence for the no. Because it doesn't mean no that it's just no right now. And then you watch things like this video, and it wasn't just for you, the no. There's many other greats that got told no. You have to go to the next.
you're gonna get. It's almost like you have to be denied before you're
You
and
have
be
to.
able to and be able to take that
Oh,
denial.
exactly.
You have to. You have to. You
That's a
have.
part of it.
Yes, you have to. And once you accept the denial, that's when the yes comes.
hmm
I think that is such nuggets right there that both of you have shared, because one of my thoughts when I was watching this with the influence of social media, that sometimes the perception, because I find today that so many in today's time you can just create and become whoever you want to create yourself to be in social media. But I love the fact that you broke that down, that you can't go in with filters, because everybody doctors themselves. They're masters at doing that. You really don't know what anybody looks like anymore in real life.
Right.
But
Yes,
that
like,
was
but
really
the filter has built the end to be depending on what you submit to, depending on where you want to be in this industry now. Fortunately, unfortunately, that is built up on the industry. My agency that I first started out with, Miss Hoffman, she dropped her agency and she left her agency after 50 years because it changed. So it turned to social media. She's a great agent. Many people know her. I can tell her name anywhere I go. But she stopped doing that because it wasn't the same revenue. It had became to models being chosen off of how many likes. And that's where we are in the era now, is because if a certain actor, if a certain model, if a certain woman, she doesn't even have to be a model. If she has a gang of followers, she's going to be chosen. She's going to be chosen because she can sell the brand through her likes.
wow. That's really good. So that's a thing, can be a thing in modeling as well. You come in with enough, you already have a following, then you may get more, your greater chances in getting that particular gig because of the number of followers you have, not necessarily because you actually have the look or the talent.
Yeah, it's you don't have to. You don't have to. If you have a following, you're pretty much sold. Now it depends. There's so few of there's a select few, excuse me, there's a select few of follow people who have followers, and then they have to put them in the middle of the greats or the people that still know the industry. However, there's enough of them that bumps you down. And in my time right now, it's so different how since 1970s and 1960s, the modeling industry to the 2000s now, how things have just changed it, right? We broke the industry for Black models,
hmm
but there's still a tussle with something else. And so you'll always have that something else. You just have to want it to be the something else, because if you don't want to be the something else in the industry, you won't be nothing. You'll look at the people who have 50,000 followers and who booted you out. You have to just keep going. You have to keep going in this industry. You just have.
Yep.
I'm not quite sure where Miss Sherry
But yeah,
went.
I agree with you on that. I guess that's a great note to leave off on for the show.
Yeah.
This was great. It was a great conversation.
Thank you for having
Oh,
me.
yes,
Yeah.
we'll have to have a part two because
Okay.
there is so much to discuss there and even to dissect. And I encourage everyone to watch the documentary on Netflix. You can also pull it up on YouTube, Supreme Models. And the book is also available for purchase. It is an amazing coffee book. So if you are one who really loves the industry, I would say it's a must have.
Nice.
Any final notes before we leave, Annie?
Oh, Annie, what are you doing? You said you are doing something in Dallas.
This is another thing. When you're supposed to submit, do not wait. Oh man. And yes, I was looking at I have to go to Dallas on the 19th for a casting for Dallas Fashion Week. However, it was for a designer, yes, Stefan Gundu.
Mhm.
And so I am going to still message him.
Yeah,
But
it's not
yeah,
too late.
it's never too, you never know. You never know. You never know. And so, yes, I'm going to do that. One thing I will leave off on is if you see it, if you believe it, go for it. Because if you don't, then it's never going to come to you.
I heard that.
That is a real nugget right there. I love that. I'm a true believer of see it, believe it, and become it. And thank you so much for sharing your time with us today, Annie. We would love to have you come back because it's just so much discussion and things still yet to talk about. I know the two of you are we're all involved with Juneteenth, and so there's some great things coming down. So any potential models in the Oklahoma area,
Yes.
stay tuned. Juneteenth, they are Lonnie is
You can
producing the
send
show.
them,
Annie is also involved.
email
So
me
they are
at
looking for
Lonnie.
models. So
Yep.
here's that moment.
You can
Your
email
time.
me at Lonnie McQuarters at gmail.com. If any models are interested, it's Lonnie, Lonie, McQuarters, McQuarters at gmail.com.
It has been a great show. We will also have some information and updates on the website at luxuryandblack.com. We hope you will have a fabulous day. And as always, we will keep you.
Stylish.
All right. That's my guy. Thank you,
Thank
Annie.
you.
You all have a great
You
day.
too. Bye bye.
Cheers. Bye.
Bye. Ciao.